Find the exact value of each expression. Sine 50 degrees minus cosine 40. Cosine 40 is equal to sine 90 degrees minus 40 degrees. So sine 50 degrees minus 90 minus 40 is 50. Sine 50 degrees. The answer is 0. Tangent squared pi over 8 minus cosecant squared 3 pi over 8 minus secant squared pi over 2 minus 3 pi over 8. Pi over 2 minus 3 pi over 8. Lowest common denominator is 8, so we have to multiply pi over 2 by 4 over 4. So it's 4 pi over 8 minus 3 pi over 8. And the answer is pi over 8. So 10 squared pi over 8 minus secant squared pi over 8. We know that tangent squared pi over 8 plus 1 is equal to secant squared pi over 8. Pythagorean identity. We're going to replace secant squared pi over 8 by tangent squared pi over 8 plus 1. So it's minus tangent squared pi over 8 minus 1. When you distribute, tangent squared cancel. So the answer is -1. Cotangent 27 degrees and tangent 63 is equal to cotangent 90 degrees minus 63 degrees. So we get cotangent 27 degrees over cotangent 27 degrees. A number over itself is equal to 1. Cosine 30 degrees over 1 multiplied by tangent 30 degrees, which is sine 30 degrees over cosine 30 degrees. And secant 60 degrees is 1 over cosine 60. 1 over cosine 60 degrees. Cosine 30 cancelled. So sine 30 degrees multiplied by 1 over sine 90 minus 60, 30. Sine 30 cancel. The answer is 1. Write each expression in terms of its cofunction. Secant 41 is equal to cosecant 90. Cosecant 90 degrees minus 41. So the answer is cosecant 49. Sine 12 degrees is equal to cosine 90 degrees minus 12 degrees. And the answer is cosecant 78 degrees. Tangent pi over 5 is equal to cotangent pi over 2 minus pi over 5. The common denominator is 2 times 5, which is 10. So it's going to be 5 times pi over 10 minus 2 times pi over 10. So the answer is cotangent 3 pi over 10. Cosecant 2 pi over 13 is equal to secant pi over 2 minus 2 pi over 13. The common denominator is 2 times 13, which is 26. And we're going to have 13 times pi minus 4 pi and over 26. And the answer will be secant 13 pi minus 4 pi, 9 pi over 26. Find the exact value of each expression. Tangent 20 minus cotangent 70 degrees. Tangent 20 minus tangent 90 minus 70. 90 degrees minus 70 degrees. We get tangent 20 degrees minus tangent 20 degrees. And that exact value is 0. Secant 9 degrees over cosecant 81 degrees plus 3. Secant 9 degrees and cosecant 81 is equal to secant 90 minus 81 plus 3. It becomes secant 9 degrees over secant 9 degrees plus 3. Number over itself is 1. The answer is 1 plus 3, which is 4. Sine squared pi over 3 plus sine squared pi over 6. Sine squared pi over 3 plus cosine squared pi over 2 minus pi over 6. Common denominator is 6. Therefore, we're going to have cosine squared, the whole thing over pi over 6. We have to multiply pi over 2 by 3. So it's 3 pi over 6 minus pi over 6. Pi over 6 is multiplied by 1, obviously. Secant squared pi over 3 plus cosine squared 2 pi over 6. 3 pi minus 1 pi. Secant squared pi over 3. When we reduce 2 pi over 6, we get pi over 3. Cosine squared pi over 3. And sine squared pi over 3 plus cosine squared pi over 3 is equal to 1.